My name is Phil Adams. I'm an application engineer here at Webstack. I'll be the host today. I'll be introducing Damien Jobiker, our business development manager, very shortly, and he'll be doing our presentation on today's webinar. Damien has had 21 plus years in the IT/CAD and BIM area. In both in IT and AEC applications, manufacturing, and 2D and 3D. So I'm just about to hand over my screen over to Damien, and he'll take away on today's presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat area, and we'll sort of answer them as we as we go along, or at the end of the presentation. Over to you, Damien.
Thanks, Bill. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. So this webinar is going to be on AEC Project inefficiencies traps and how to escape them. And we're going to go through some various workflows, and so here's today's agenda. So I'm just going to go a little bit about Redstack for those who aren't aware of what we do. Also, we'll go through some global trends that are happening at the moment, and industry traps and solutions to those traps, and how to solve these issues. So this is going to be a little bit about Redstack. So we're a leading provider of design, technology, and services. We've been around for over 20 years with local experience with offices across Asia and the Middle East and Europe. We're partnered with Autodesk, Imaginative Technologies, and RAN worldwide, and have a comprehensive range of products and services. This is me. Like Bill said, I've been around for about 21 years in the industry, and definitely have vendor certifications in all the Autodesk products, 3D printing as well, so know enough to be dangerous. In terms of what Redstack do, we're involved in 6 areas, professional services, management systems, software, hardware, IT and automation systems. When it comes to 2D, 3D software, we've got software for manufacturing, infrastructure, visualization, media entertainment, construction, architecture, 4D plus VR, and PDF collaboration. We're also got solutions for 3D design, process analysis, 3D scanning, technical documentation, 2D detailing, factory layout, analysis, virtual reality, and plant design, amongst many other things. In terms of 3D hardware, we supply scanners, printers, and UAVs. In IT, we do hardware and infrastructure. In terms of management systems, we do data management systems, file management, asset management systems, task automation systems. Clarity is definitely a product that you should look at if you're a Revit user and want to manage BIM data better. We do PDF collaboration, project management and review. BIM 360 is an excellent management system for BIM workflows. Fusion 360 Team is more for manufacturing. We connect business systems, and we have facilities management systems as well. In terms of professional services, we do business process reviews and make recommendations. We do training and mentoring. We do full system deployments. We do programming, Dynamo scripting for those who use Revit, Advanced Steel, and other applications that support Dynamo. We have contract services, 3D printing services, and 3D scanning services. In terms of automation systems, we've got Configurator 360, Clarity automates, Revit, CAD Connector connects CAD to ERP, Inventor's a pro design automation system, Dynamo will do automation for Revit and Advanced Steel, and Config Link will link to ERP as well. We also have a BIM Services division. We do BIM management training. We do BIM project management, BIM and IoT, BIM and AI, BIM plus FM or facilities management, and BIM and VR. All right, so that's just about RedStack. So we'll get into the webinar now and go through global trends. So maybe the biggest trend is population growth. This growth will bring migration to cities and urban areas. The estimate is for a world population of 9 billion by 2050, and 2.5 billion of these people will live in cities by 2050. To keep pace with this growth, the world needs to add 1,000 buildings a day. So in 2016, when we talk about skyscrapers, 128 were built last year, and 84 of those were built in China, or 2/3. And there'll need to be an estimated investment of $3.7 trillion in roads, energy, water, telecommunications, transportation, and other infrastructure between now and 2030, or $44 trillion. In terms of sustainability, there's also a big push for the community and building or infrastructure owners to deliver more sustainable projects in the sense of less consumption of water, electricity, energy once the asset's built. Companies need to pay attention to the materials being used and heavily reduce the amount of waste during the construction and maintenance cycles of the built asset, which could be a building or a road. So let's look at BIM within a global context. BIM mandates are being placed on construction projects, in particular for architects. These mandates have increased duties and new processes to be adopted within a framework which is supported by the BIM methodology. For all project stakeholders, this is an additional commitment to which most see benefits, and then there's others that just remain undecided. If you're at this stage of currently working to a level 2 BIM or not at this stage, it's important to be aware that there are processes within projects that can be improved with great effect. So BIM's not just happening in isolated geos, and it's not about the software. What we're seeing here is a global trend toward a different process for managing the life cycle of all assets in the built environment. BIM adoption varies by country, but the consistent theme is growing awareness, exploration, use, and adoption of BIM processes on a global basis. So what is driving this BIM adoption globally? It ranges from government mandates to owner preference to industry trends. In the UK, for example, the government's construction strategy states that BIM will become a key part of the government's procurement of public buildings. From 2016, BIM will be mandatory on all public sector contracts. The Nordics have also had a strong history of mandating BIM, especially the Norwegian BIM mandate and Senate properties from Finland. In the US, BIM has been mandated on public building service projects. In Germany, 90% of project owners either often or always demand BIM, and that's quite a high number. But if we look at locally in APAC, Australia has a strong BIM adoption. However, there's no government mandate, unlike in Singapore, where the government has mandated BIM for a number of years now. And in 2015, BIM e-submissions have been mandated for projects larger than 5,000 square meters. So in China, being the country that built 2/3 of the skyscrapers, only 15% of projects are BIM, and they cite resistance to change in new management processes being the reason. What's driving BIM in the world today? Project complexity is a growing trend, and this will increase in the future with advances in technology and the production of products. It's a clear benefit for clients who require a high-quality end product, value for money, and reduced construction times within the process. Technology is now allowing designers and stakeholders to gain insights into very complex projects and remove or reduce issues on site before they arise, and develop and then in parallel sequence to reduce unnecessary long durations of construction phases. These points are relevant to both architectural and infrastructure projects within the AEC industry. There are a few of the great challenges the industry is facing currently, and they say it's not set up for success. Statements like these can help identify problem areas which need focus and attention to be improved within processes on projects, which all stakeholders can benefit. It's important to identify that the client's end product will achieve high quality results to align to their project requirements. And the lack of project design information contributes to a fragmentation, leaving low margins and potentially high risk for clients to absorb over the duration of a project. So you might ask the question, okay, so we have issues which require a solution, and how can these be improved? Technologies and processes such as high definition surveying, cloud computing, machine learning, the industrialization of construction, digital collaboration, the Internet of Things, advanced analytics, sensor networks, and standardized BIM processes and workflows can assist. So let's look at some industry trends and solutions. So we've discussed the main global trends that are impacting the AEC industry. So let's look at some of the traps. Let's start with the basics. Many companies still work in a 2D CAD environment compared to a 3D design modeling environment. This is a limiting factor. For example, the insight people have in the design and very likely can result in a poorer quality project because of that lack of insight. There are efficiencies to be gained by using BIM tools which cannot be replicated in a 2D CAD workflow, as we'll see in the following slides. So let's have a look at how 3D models from Revit can add value in building design, and how AutoCAD Civil 3D is also helping to avoid human error in infrastructure projects. So 2D views within a building design project, adopting BIM authoring software such as Revit can enhance the workflow for creating sheets, schedules, views, and painful repetitive tasks and changes to aspects of the design which can be removed or reduced within a 3D model environment. Where the information and data is generated from a single source, being the 3D model. This video is illustrating how roof windows have been added and how it automates the process for elevations and sections, which don't require any adjustments. For these amendments would typically occur within the design process when time is required on other tasks. Fundamental features that the 3D model in Revit can provide compared to traditional 2D CAD-based workflow, it improves productivity and time on projects, or reducing events such as human errors, which can develop within the production and information phases as well. Here's a video on Civil 3D where the users can select a road, go to the object viewer, rotate the model, and then get a better understanding of what's required for the change. So we can go to a viewport now, select that road, change the sweep profile, and by doing so, not only are we changing the view where you're seeing now that profile, but in all the views, because it's an intelligent 3D model, and all the views will update, and so the changes will flow through for your documentation. So your documentation is accurate and avoids human error. Another trap that we see is that different design departments still work in isolation. Design isolation could be multiple things here. First of all, we see that many companies have different design departments and they still work in disconnect from each other, even when they're sitting in the same office, in the same location. Another way to look at this disconnection issue between the design departments or companies you need to work with might be located in different places or in the country or even multiple countries. In the next couple of slides, I want to show how a couple of workflows can help in breaking down these silos and improve the project quality and efficiencies, resulting in better performance generally. So one way of doing that is at the concept design phase and using Autodesk Format Pro bi-directionally with Revit. So this is a workflow from Format to Revit in action. So let's discuss the disconnect between offices and companies. It's an issue some companies face with expanding workforce to support growing demands for new and future work. So there are benefits to working in a connected way within the era of connection by adopting cloud-based products such as Format. Project team members no longer have to be within the same office. There are flexibility benefits with adopting these new technologies and innovative ways of working to allow for all team members to review design information or feed information into the project environment anytime, anywhere, in real time. This connect greatly improves the process and influences stakeholders to the direct benefit, but also the indirect benefits, which these collaboration platforms can offer for insights, allowing team members to step within the model and improve their understanding of the concept of the project. So, I mean, not only can we design conceptually in 3D, we can also do analysis as well and connect the analysis to the 3D model, which then downstream goes into documentation and reporting. So here you can see that we're doing some building analysis at the conceptual stage. We don't need a detailed design here. We're just working with simple geometry, and we can very easily change the scope of the project with this information. So in this example, ESG architects, they successfully integrate Format into their BIM workflow. So let's go a bit deeper and see how Revit can be implemented within a project between architects, structural and MEP engineers. So it's all about removing the silos within design a process and bringing architects, structural and MEP engineers within a BIM environment. This video illustrates how all three disciplines are able to develop their scope of design and work within 3D models and create detailed information based on the geometry of the model. We can see in the video that the structural engineer is able to create and modify rebars within a concrete transfer beam and update the parameters for the configuration of the reinforcement, allowing for efficient updates within the design process. So, I mean, using Revit, all three disciplines can work within a connected design environment, which allows for design team members to collaborate within the context of the 3D model. It'll go to MEP now. So MEP designers can understand projects at early conceptual design stages and inform the design development to reduce unnecessary changes towards the end of the design process. Revit allows designers the ability to have full insight and fully coordinate the design intent and improve the workflow for greater efficiencies and remove barriers. So, I mean, typically, if you're working in 2D, there's a full disconnect here. You're only working in line schematics. I mean, here the designer is not only updating his parameters, but viewing the changes in 3D and in a 2D viewport all in one. And if a change happens in one, it flows through to the other. So Revit can also be used with Navisworks managed for clash detection and model aggregation. In this video, we're going to show a workflow between Revit and Navisworks. If you haven't used Navisworks, it allows you to interrogate your Revit model to provide design reviews and allow for other consultants' input for services and structural elements to work within the parameters of the project for design workshops. There are additional features which allow you to break the model down to understand the sequence of construction works and inform other aspects. You can create work sets, whether it's by level, doors, walls, structural beams. So with projects becoming more complex and building methods advancing, it's important to create digital assets which allow for data to be collected and stored to allow for project stakeholders to access that data to improve time of construction and develop the model more for future use within the operation and maintenance phases of the project lifecycle. To be able to report clashes and explore the model in detail provides clarity to the whole design team. The video is illustrating how the model environment can be viewed and analysed for understanding the phases of construction for other team members taking BIM workflows to the next level using integrated software to leverage models for visualization, fabrication, and multidiscipline coordination. We can also push this design and analysis to the cloud as well, and share that to other stakeholders who don't have Navisworks, possibly in other locations or definitely in the field to get a greater understanding. Right now, we're going through a 4D simulation where we're simulating the build of the project before it's done, and we can identify potential issues. AutoCAD Civil 3D also works with Navisworks Managed using the same concepts. We're not going to go through any videos with Civil 3D, but it's the same as the concept. If you want to share your design data, Autodesk A360 Drive has viewers, so you can share, do reviews, look at properties, organize data. It's secure and has storage. If you want to go one step further, you can go to the BIM 360 platform, and this gives you greater tools for design, pre-construction, field execution, and the handover stages. So let's talk about developing models and information which supports rich data environments and allows project team members and non-technical people within the project to analyze the project in real time. I mean, we can show a million drawings, but let's face it, we don't think in 2D. Our brains are geared up for 3D, and having compelling presentations to show your design intent is quite important. In this presentation here, we're going to see Revit render in the cloud. So we've created a viewport from our 3D model, and using cloud rendering services, you can create high definition, high fidelity renderings. In here, you're selecting one view, whether it's a panorama, it could be VR panorama scenes as well. You can select 100 views, push it to the cloud, and have it rendered. So you're just going through the settings now, and if we log into our A360 account, we can see how the renderings have come out, and we can adjust it further. You don't need a high-end workstation. It's all done through the cloud, and you can share it with your stakeholders. As I said, we can render as a panorama as well, and also for Google Cardboard as well, and do some VR scenes if we wanted to too. Here we're going to show how Revit can go into Revit Live, and Revit Live is an interactive visualization environment that supports VR as well. So it's a simple way to enrich a design and make it more real for clients, help them see what designers see and validate design decisions. So the interactive experience and VR are now accessible to all Revit users with Autodesk Live. Revit Live brings designs to life, from the big ideas to simple design details and visual checks. This is your traditional visualization client, an architect and a key designer in the firm. But your client is an architect, not a technologist. Architects are great at their job, and they've got a knack for visualizing designs in their head. They know every nook and cranny in their mind's eye, but you know, you can struggle to actually express that vision, even with images. So to be able to push it to Revit Live is very simple, and people can get a feel for what the vision is before it's built. You can see here we're adjusting some settings here for lighting, and we can make design decisions based on the interactive visualization. Here we're just going through different viewports that are saved camera views from Revit, so we can jump around from the scene very easily. For Civil 3D users, 3ds Max is the preferred workflow to create high-quality visualization, animation, analysis, and immersive visualization. Here's a video of the process. Here's a technical model. Lots of lines, wireframes, circles. It's not good for presentation purposes. So what we're doing here is importing the model into 3ds Max using Civil View, and the Civil View plugin is designed for basic users to create visualizations and animations using tools and terminology that Civil 3D users will be familiar with. You can then open that in 3ds Max Interactive and have a VR experience. So here we just bring it in, the Civil 3D model's there, and just like that, we can create an animation and render it. We can render still images, animations. We can have simulation of traffic as well. And it's all the typical tools that a civil designer would be familiar with. So you see how powerful and easy it is to move around, move objects to make your final animation quite compelling. Much better than a 2D drawing, and you can very easily see if there's potential issues or provide feedback and get buy-in with your stakeholders. AutoCAD Civil 3D also goes into an application called Infraworks, and it's linked with Civil 3D and can add a higher visual quality in an immersive environment. And that's one of the tracks that we want to talk about. That design is disconnected from actually what is actually already there. There's lots of existing context that you have to consider before you start a project. So being able to do a design that is connected to reality will allow you to create a better quality design, drive a better project, offer real solutions for the situation. So you can see what the impact is to the wider environment. So you can make better decisions and have a better quality project, which is not feasible when you just look at the project design only. I'll get into this a little bit further. So with Infraworks, it's a conceptual design and analysis tool, and you can also bring that into Civil 3D and bring Civil 3D designs into Infraworks. It's an easy-to-use workflow for reality capture to bring a scan to BIM workflow. So here I'm going to show a video on Infraworks where the user's searching on a map. They're going to pick out a region to work with and create a project. So if the video is a bit jerky, we're recording the presentation and we'll put this on YouTube later so you can have a look at it in better detail. So once the project's created, Infraworks generates a 3D model from open source street map data. And that process, look, depending on the size of the map, takes about 3 to 4 minutes. In this one, it took 3 to 4 minutes to generate using the Infraworks cloud service, which is a combination of terrain data, aerial imagery, and 3D map data to allow you to design and visualize in context the project. So you can see here now that like I said, we've got that combination and we can zoom in and start working with this scene and place your design within the scene and develop it further. You don't have to build all this up by yourself. Like I said, it's all based on open street map data, and you know, as the years go by, more and more data gets put in there. So let's look at a workflow. Let's say there's a 2D PDF sheet you have received from a company and you're doing a preliminary design. Sorry, guys. And you want to turn that preliminary design to a real design. So this is the capability of Infraworks. What we're doing is laying out a road section and using design rules and real engineering capabilities. So this is a conceptual application with easy-to-use tools to put together a design proposal, just based on a 2D PDF. We can very quickly apply multiple cross sections and see what the impact is, looking at earthworks very early on in the design phase. The tools make it easy to change intersections, like here where we're putting a roundabout from a traditional intersection. Give me a second, let the video catch up. Yeah, so here we've changed it from a traditional intersection to a roundabout, and using design tools based on rules. What Infraworks also does is not only preliminary design, but also performs design analysis, which is all connected to the context of the project. And because we have all the terrain model available, we can see what the earth volumes are, and the software will propose on how to optimize your earthworks on the project. And we can have a look and see what the design will look like in 3D, and also in cross-section views if it's performing the way it should. So now that we have designed the model in context, we can also run traffic simulation and see what the impact is of the new road on the existing areas. Just give us a moment. So here you can see some traffic simulation, and this all connects to Civil 3D. So you can create the necessary documentation downstream to provide deliverables for the project when it gets past the preliminary stage. So in terms of 3D scanning, you can use Recap to go to Revit, and it's a powerful and easy to use workflow for reality capture. Autodesk has partnered with every major hardware vendor, including both UAV and drone manufacturers and laser scanner manufacturers. Recap Pro has been designed for use by someone with no previous experience. It is pretty easy to use, actually. So it's very user-friendly, one-click automated workflows. It does automated scan registration, so you can stitch multiple scans together in one point cloud, and it's got intelligent cleanup services. This automatically removes unwanted noise, like a person walking through a room being scanned, and perhaps most importantly, Recap integrates with all Autodesk key AEC design creation tools, including Revit. So you can attach a Recap project and start modeling off that laser scan to create more accurate designs before it gets built. So so you can see here how it's overlaid there, and it's able to collect data from surveys and compute this information within a 3D environment to capture the existing elements important to a project, ranging from established levels to historical structures, which would be difficult to capture with traditional surveying practices. We're showing how the process of Recap is being used with existing structures and taking this data into the Revit environment to enable early stage conceptual designs to be developed. This technology allows team members to collect complex geometry, which is a reliable source of data. So here we just attach it, we bring it in, and we can overlay it with our existing design. So Recap can also be used with Civil 3D as well. Yet again, we're not going to get into a video with that. So what are the advantages of using these workflows? Customers have said they win more work because the design intent's there. They can collaborate better with their clients. It's more profitable. It looks better. The company comes across as more of a preferred choice because they're using better tools, and they retain clients as well. They'll keep using them again and again because the projects are not only successful, but the whole process from start to finish is more collaborative. So these are the tools that you can use in an architectural solution. Forma Pro and Dynamo Studio can be used at the conceptual stage. Revit can be used across all stages when it comes to schematics, detailed design, documentation. Insight is for building design performance and analysis, rendering, 3ds Max, Revit Live. Navisworks Managed to be used in the clash analysis and 4D side of things. And if you need more than that, BIM 360 is a cloud management tool, and Vault is also a very powerful file, document, process, and asset management tool as well. For the infrastructure industries, Infraworks would be the tool with Civil 3D. Vehicle tracking as well is a excellent tool for swept path analysis. And yet again, we can push that to the cloud with BIM 360 and collaborate and manage the project further. And we can also use Vault as well to manage versions, revisions, find data, audit trail, compliance. And that's not just for all these CAD tools. It can be any file from PDFs to Office documents, images, you name it, any file. And it's an enterprise solution that can be used globally or just at one site. So yeah, the AEC collection has all those tools that were encased in that red square there on the two previous slides. To have a suite of tools provides greater value, gives you more flexibility and choice. It's the right tool for the right job, and it's simple. One serial number, one subscription, and it gives you all those amazing tools. So that brings our webinar to a conclusion. So if we look at upcoming events, we have another webinar coming up on Imagine It Clarity, Stop Wasting Time in Revit. It's an enterprise task automation, model metrics, BIM management tools for Revit. Then we have another webinar on Vault, data management for the AEC industry, where we go into how Vault is used to manage files better and data. And we have a seminar coming up in Melbourne in late September called The Future of Making Buildings, where we go through BIM design processes and tools and workflows in more detail.
Well, thank you, Damien. That was very good.
Yep. Thanks, Phil.
If anyone's got any questions, they can email him that's on screen, or you can type in a message now into the chat box. And I'll leave it to running a little bit longer in case we sort of any messages do pop up.
We've got one here from Stephen Shaw saying that Inventor should have along Infraworks. You're absolutely right. I mean, Autodesk has developed a tool to work with Inventor in Civil 3D. The reason why Inventor wasn't put on there because this particular presentation went through what was in the AEC collection and tools in there, but definitely Inventor's an important part of the AEC workflow, especially in fabrication. Yeah, things need to be made. So yeah, I 100% agree, Stephen. Any other questions? Do you have any questions, Bill?
No, I'm good, thanks, Damien. So I'll just close the webinar off now, and thank you very, very much to all who attended, and we'll be posting the video as soon as we finish processing it.